Hi everyone and welcome to Unit Review. We're your hosts, Jack
and Dan.
And today we're going to be looking at the Tesseract Vault of the Necron Warriors.
Yeah, the big boy. It's and that is, it's probably its biggest problem as we're going to go through it. It's an interesting unit. It's got lots of fun stuff you can do with it.
It certainly does, yeah.
But it's big.
Too big. I mean, look how much it's taken up our table.
Yes,
being greedy.
Yeah,
but there's lots to talk about.
In fairness to Jack, he only bought this when we went to Warhammer World a few weeks ago, so that's why it's not built yet.
Yeah, that's the excellent.
Yes. well, also you can build it one of two ways, can't you?
True.
The obelisk or the vault.
Tesseract
So
Vault,
we'll talk about which way you're going to go in a bit later on. So stay tuned for that.
Keep an eye on it. But let's get started then. So stat block, Dan, you want to start off?
Yeah, it's got a move of 8, so it kind of sedately glides around the battlefield.
Yeah.
It's got a toughness of 12, as you'd expect. It's got a 2-up save and a 4-up invuln, which is nice. It's got 24 wounds, a leadership of 7, and an OC of 8.
I think that stat block, the only thing that really kind of upsets me about that stat block is its movement, because its actual base itself, I swear, its model size is like 8 inches.
Oh, yeah.
So like to clear things, with obviously to get around bits and bobs, as I mentioned, it's just so hard.
Yes. On a modern 40k board setup, it's challenging, but we'll come on to that. Tell us a bit more about unit composition. I think some of this will come as no surprise. How many points is it? Because it went up, didn't it? Recently?
It went up recently there, yeah. So it now costs 425 points. The model is equipped with 4 Tesla spheres.
Yeah.
I can't even say it. And lovely, strong armored bulk.
Yeah, its melee profile
is solid. But it's also equipped with the powers of the Catan, which we'll get into a little bit later because it's an ability, and it can be damaged. So between 1 and 8, you subtract 4 from its OC, and you lose 1 of the Catan powers.
Yeah, I always forget about that. You lose 1 of the Catan powers, but yeah, once you get down to 8 wounds or under, you lose half your OC and half your Catan powers.
I think people are just so used to, I'm below half strength, or I'm wounded, -1.
Yeah,
people automatically assume that, but this is different.
It is, and I don't like that. I like GW promised us. Stu, you promised us.
Where are you, Stu?
Yeah, that these keywords are meant to be consistent.
Yes.
So damage would be -1 to hit, to your hit. You would be -1 when you were trying to hit things, but this is completely different. So just bear it in mind. Yeah.
Get your act together. But keywords, Dan, we'll go ahead.
Yeah, it's got Necrons. It's got fly, so watch out for anti-fly. It's got vehicle. It's got towering and titanic, so we'll come on to that in terms of how it interacts with terrain, but that is quite handy. And obviously it's got Tesseract Vault.
It is. Fantastic. Well, we'll go into the weapon profile, because like I say, there's a few different ones.
It's got some fun guns.
It does have some fun guns. So starting off with, I'll go with the Armored Bulk. We'll start with, Armored Bulk, that's its melee profile. It has 6 attacks, it hits on 4s, strength is 8, no AP, and 1 damage. It's bland. Boring. Yeah. You don't want to...
It's not meant to be.
It's not what it's there for.
No.
Moving on to the shooting capabilities, this is where it gets tasty. So the first one is you got 4 Tesla spheres. This has sustained 2. It's 24-inch range, 6 attacks each, hitting on freeze, strength 7, no AP, but 1 damage. So it's okay. I'll run through them and we'll talk about them all.
It's good anti-chaff, that.
It is. The Antimatter Meteor, this has blast, devastating wounds, indirect fire, and is a Catan power. It is 24-inch range. You have D6 plus 3 number of attacks. You hit on freeze, strength 7, -3, and 3 damage.
Strength 10.
Oh, sorry, strength 10.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
That is 100% a Terminator killer.
Oh, aye.
Right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
It's a really, indirect is good.
Oh, it's just unreal.
Yeah.
So you would be hit on 4s if you did indirect,
yes.
but still that flexibility of things not being able to hide is just
it's powerful. Yeah,
it's so good.
What else have we got?
We've got Cosmic Fire. This ignores cover. It is devastating wounds and it is torrent. You will have 18-inch range. You have 3 D6 number of hits. Obviously it automatically hits, which is great. Strength is 6, -1, and 1 damage.
Lush.
Very good. And the last one, which my personal favorite, Time's Arrow. It is anti-character +4. Devastating wounds and precision, which is lovely. 24-inch range, only 1 attack, hitting on 2s, strength 3, -2, and 6 damage.
6 damage.
A flat 6. I love your opponent's face whenever you say, 6 damage. And they're like, D6?
Yeah.
No, I didn't stutter. Not this time. I didn't stutter.
It's. I would like to. It's a bit. It's. I'm being a bit negative, maybe, but I think a few Necron players would agree with me. But anti-character 4-up is literally a coin toss as to whether you get it or not.
I get it.
It should be a 3-up or a 2.
I think a 3-up would be handsome, but I still like it.
It's great fun.
Just that element of being scared, because again, there's so many characters in this edition nowadays that are attached to pretty much every unit.
Yeah.
So just having that element of being able to take one of them out of play without having to chew through the entire squad, to me is quite handsome.
Yeah.
But overall, I think that's a fantastic profile for its weapons.
Yes, it gives you a lot of. Now you can't use all of them all of the time, all at once. Not everything everywhere all at once. But we'll come on to that in abilities.
Yes, go ahead, Dan. You want to talk through that?
So obviously it's got reanimation protocols. End of your command phase, you get D3 wounds back.
Yeah.
This is one where you might want to pair that with things like a spider or a reanimator just to keep it alive. But it's also got deadly demise. Its deadly demise is D6 plus 3. You do not want this blowing up in the middle of your lines.
During an event where we went down to Nick
Necron Nick's, Nick Beer, yes.
Nick Beer, he, what's it called from Plan 40k? He's exploded and blew up one of my knights.
Yes.
Gotta respect the damage output.
It's funny. But as Jack touched on before, it's got powers of the Catan. So how this works is in your shooting phase, when you select this model to shoot, you can select 2 out of those 3 Catan powers. Assuming you're not damaged, then you can only select 1.
Yes.
And until the end of the phase, that is equipped with those weapons in addition to the Tesla spheres. So that is how it gives you that flexibility. You've got your Tesla spheres are always going to fire.
Yeah,
and then
4 of them as well.
Yeah, and then you get to pick the 2 other ones which are going to be the best for you in that turn.
I just think it gives this unit the flexibility to basically target anything. Now, primarily those weapons are anti-infantry, I would say. You could use the other one against tanks.
The highest strength is 10, so light tanks like rhinos and stuff you're going to be able to take out, but you're going to be wounding a Land Raider on 5s.
Yeah, so it gets harder the more you go, but if you do need it to take some wounds off, you certainly could.
It can do some chip damage.
Yeah.
And what I'm interested in here, this has literally just occurred to me, and do my usual here, because I should have thought about this before and researched it, but if you get to pick the powers of Catan in your shooting phase, you can't use them in Overwatch then, because Overwatch occurs in the movement phase, in your opponent's movement phase.
That's interesting. So in your... Well, it's a shooting ability. Unless you can't fire them because they're technically not a shooting weapon.
Because this says in your shooting phase, you select your Catan powers. And it's until the end of that phase the model's equipped with them.
But in my mind, the way it's written, that's in your shooting phase. We're not in the shooting phase. We are in the fight phase.
You're in the movement. You're in your opponent's movement phase for Overwatch. Yeah. So you can't use Catan powers for Overwatch.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And then also the shooting fight phase as well. Or the charge phase. That's a different phase.
Oh, what am I talking about? It's a Titanic unit. Can't Overwatch.
Oh, there we go. What are we talking about?
Yeah. So just remember, it's Titanic and you can't Overwatch. But also you can't use your Catan powers outside of your shooting phase. Basically as well. Good.
Awesome.
Little took us on an amazing, pointless diversion again there. Sorry about that, folks.
Will I edit it out? Yeah. Absolutely not.
No. Leave it in and humiliate me.
I fell for it too. I fell for it too.
Good. Happens. All right. But moving on then.
Yes.
Are there any stratagems you can use with this?
It's not a unit review video unless we mention Cosmic Precision.
Yes.
But the reason why I'm mentioning Cosmic Precision this time, actually, it's probably worth mentioning. This is 1 CP. It's in your movement phase. You can deep strike this unit within 6 inches now. Not free. It's now 6 because of the recent changes. And it is good. The reason why I've had to choose this for is because this unit is so big. He's going to really struggle to get anywhere on the board with the terrain bits, the enemy units. So if you were to deep strike this, like for example from Cosmic Precision, or you left it in reserves, or you're in the hyper phase, the unit, you could easily get screened out, which really sucks. So you've got to make sure you can get them in. And this stratagem for 1 CP is just that extra safety net or safety blanket to get this unit back in the field.
That's kind of what it kind of feels like. You want to do what Carl did with it when you played with him at that tournament. Was you want to deep strike it onto the central objective and try and hold that for as long as possible. Which is not a bad plan.
It's not, and it worked really well for us. To be fair, and because it draws a lot of fire, keeps a lot of your other units safe. 24 24 wounds is quite a lot to get through.
It is.
So it's quite nice.
And it's difficult to tie up with chaff because it's got so many anti-chaff guns.
Correct.
You can't just like tie it up with a little unit or try and auto-see it off an objective with a little battle line unit because it's just going to delete it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Really good. Really good.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Next stratagem wise, we've got the nano assembly protocols. This is 1 CP. It's in the obeisance phalanx detachment. It happens in your shooting phase. Oh, so your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its target. Obviously, you select this unit until the end of the phase. Each time an attack is allocated to the model, you subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of that attack.
That is really good.
I
really
like
good,
it.
Yeah.
I really like it, mainly because it's this guy has 24 wounds. You need to keep him safe. You need to keep him alive. And look, there are big vehicles out there, like Land Raiders got multiple wounds. You've got like the big Imperial Knights that have high damage.
A lot of Eldar and Dark Eldar got access to Haywire, doing dev wounds to vehicles. Yeah.
So just reducing that damage as much coming in as possible would keep it safe. So
I hadn't thought about that one. That's really good.
Yeah. I just like it. And it's cheap as well. 1 CP. To keep them alive, you want them alive. So I think it's recommended.
I really hadn't thought about using it in obeisance phalanx, but that obeisance phalanx kind of needs something like that because it's quite infantry heavy and focused on infantry.
Yeah, and
it's interesting that strat you can use on any vehicle.
Yeah,
whereas the strats in the new detachment Star Shatter specifically exclude Titanic vehicles.
Yes,
so this does not synergize very well with Star Shatter at all, which is a bit of a shame.
It is. It's worth mentioning as well. I think this is in the core rules and not on here, but most rules say that you can subtract 1 to a minimum of 1.
Yes.
So this stratagem doesn't say that, but that rule still applies.
It still applies.
I believe that's in like an FAQ somewhere.
Yeah.
So
it is. You're right.
Still applies.
Yeah, there's a few. This catches out a few newer players in particular, but you can never reduce damage below 1. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, that would be insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Great, perfect. Well, how to play this unit? Do you want to run through this?
I mean, it is as you've written on the script here. It's an amazing infantry killer, and it's tough to shift. I mean, it's particularly good against lighter infantry, so like easily. Orcs.
Imperial
Guard, G-Stealer Cult, Eldar, etc. It's going to do a lot of damage to those infantry squads.
Yeah.
So it's got toughness 12 and 24 wounds with the 4-up save, so you can hold an objective for a while. It's going to should absorb a lot of firepower, particularly if there's defensive strats you can play or reanimation shenanigans that you can do.
Exactly. If this guy goes down, in my mind, it will take at least 2 turns to go down.
Yeah,
because of the amount of firepower that's going to go into it. It's just so tough. And the stratagems you could have the opportunity to use, I think it's going to keep it there to basically blast away those infantry and also elite infantry as well with that -3 and 3 damage. Catan power, gonna get rid of them.
Yeah,
really handsome.
I think with it being Titanic and / towering, you can effectively, if you tow into terrain, you can see.
You can.
If it's true line of sight, then isn't it?
Correct.
So
you
that means
can see through that terrain piece.
Yeah. So bear that in mind when you're setting it up. If you set up in a terrain piece, if it's poking its out the top or the sides, it's probably more likely with this with the size of this thing.
Yeah.
Then you will be able to be targeted.
Correct.
But that can play in your favor if you are like you were saying for cosmic precision, deep striking it in or whatever. If you deep strike it in, you can get eyes on a unit that your opponent thinks was hidden.
Exactly.
Which is quite powerful.
Definitely.
So yeah, there's definitely some play there, and as you mentioned earlier, it's. The strength 10 damage 3 weapon, if you need to, you can delete elite infantry with that. It fits into that profile really well.
It's some of that Necrons I feel like are really missing from their range. They've got a lot of like 2 damage weapon profiles, a couple of 6 damage weapon profiles, but not 3 or 4s.
Yeah.
The only 4s really are the Doomsday Cannon.
Doomsday Arc,
Doomsday Arc even. But that's it. So having something extra is always quite handsome.
Good. What about trying to get rid of him though?
Yeah, so basically many guns. So it's as we've been saying, this guy is not hard to hide, so it's going to be targetable pretty much most of the time. So basically you can get everything into it.
Yeah.
But you've got to remember, and this is my personal thoughts and using a bit of Math Hammer online, not a lot of things will take this out in 1 turn. It is going to get a second turn of shooting, so you kind of have to prep for it. You can pull out all your units and shoot everything into it and hope that it doesn't clap back, because realistically, as we've already talked about, this isn't a tank killer. So if you've got like, I don't know, some Chikari boats or something like that, is there any boat? What are the ones for
there's the Scourge. The Scourge have got the Dart Lances. Some of the boats, the Ravagers have got the Dart Lances, which are like las cannons. But it's the Eldar and the Scourge with Haywire that cause real problems because it's devastating wounds on a 4-up and it's flat 3 damage.
Exactly.
So that will hurt because it gets past your in-run.
Exactly. Enough of them will just take it out. And again, this one won't be able to take out many of those tanks. So if you do have a lot of those tanks, just pop them out. Don't be feared by this guy. This guy will drop, but it just remember the counter charge. In my mind, it's like keep your infantry safe and pull your tanks out. I know that sounds weird. Normally it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Pull your infantry out and put your tanks behind.
And because of the cost of this at like 425 points, it's going to limit, like you're unlikely to be coming up against a list that's got, say, 3 Doomsday Arcs in it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you might, but just be wary of that because if you pop your tanks out to shoot this, and then your opponent can get eyes on you with its Doomsday Arcs, it will delete your tanks.
Exactly.
If you've got a very powerful...
To a degree, like I say, it hasn't got a massive weapon profile in terms of tanks.
If you've got a powerful melee army... No, this doesn't, but your Doomsday Arc does.
Oh, sorry, if you brought this and Doomsday Arcs, got you on board.
So this is almost the bait. You whack this in the middle, and you say, come at me, you bring your knights out or whatever. And then you Doomsday Arc them in the face. Yeah.
Nice. Doomsday Arc in the face.
Yeah! Don't actually throw it in your opponent's face.
I like it. But
there's some melee armies that have got AP and Lance, or Lance is pretty powerful because it means
it's a +1 the wound.
Yes, so there is. I'm just thinking as a Drakari player, I could hopefully chip wounds off this, like get it down a good few wounds, and if I could then charge it out of a boat, so I get Lance on when I'm getting full rerolls, I could do it some damage, I think. But you're gonna have to throw. As you say, the issue is it's expensive to do. It's an expensive way to do it, but your opponent will have to expose all of their key pieces in order to delete this.
It's a gamble.
And then you need to be in the right position to then take out all of their key pieces. And then you've got his game, isn't it? Really?
It is. Yeah, but if you take it down, you're in a good spot. If you don't take it down, expect a good clapback. So that's the risk you've got to run on that one.
That's an interesting. I mean, it's a very eggs in one basket kind of play, which is not how I like to play. It's ballsy. I'm a bit more conservative in my Necrons. But it's probably worth a go.
I think it's worth a go. Worth mentioning, this one or Obelisk, which one would you prefer?
I'm always building the Vault. I think it looks better.
Does look better.
And we kind of some people build the Obelisk because they wanted the Catan inside it. You can run as a Transcendent Catan separately. It's a very expensive way to get one. You can get a 3D print online for about 15 quid or something, 20 quid. So and I think the Vault looks cooler and does more on the table. The Obelisk is a bit naff in this edition.
It's lacking the firepower. It's lacking the punch that this one does. It's got the sustain, as we've talked about, but it's I think this one. I'll put a little poll up when we put this video out to see what the crack is.
Some people, when we did the Obelisk one, were saying that there is tutorials online. Apologies, Necron Nick, I'm not sure if you've done one because I haven't looked into it, but there are tutorials online, YouTube, which will teach you how to magnetize it, so you can do both. But that's a big job.
I would love to do that, but as you say, it's a big job to do. I originally want to get some pistons and have like a little remote that like opens it up and then closes it. That would be really good. But I mean, I have no idea where I would even start with that. So who knows?
If anybody's done that,
in the future,
let us know.
If you have, reach out to us. I'd be love to help. Give me some ideas on how to do it. But yeah, that'd be awesome.
Speaking of reaching out, a few of you did comment on our socials about how you use this unit, so I appreciate that. We'll make your names appear on the screen now. It was an interesting discussion, but not many of you are actually running this unit, which is a shame. But I think, as we touched on before, the modern. I keep saying modern, like as if it's like modern compared to the Victorian 40k era. The 10th edition, the amount of and 9th was the same, but the 10th edition, the amount of terrain that's on a board, it's difficult to use this.
It is.
And the challenge, people are like, oh well, don't play tournament terrain setups, but the way 40k is if you don't have enough terrain on the table, it becomes a dice roll of who gets turn one, and then they're just going to blow the other person off.
That's what it was like in other editions. And that's where everyone complained.
Like pre-8th, that was why.
So if you were around by that point, people understand that. But if you're new in 9th and 10th, you'd be like, well, why isn't there less terrain? It's like, it was god awful.
Yeah,
it was.
You need to limit those firing lanes, otherwise it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
So I can. This is an argument that's going to rage forever between casual and narrative versus competitive-ish, I suppose. But that is the main stumbling block to me bringing this unit is its size and it cannot get around the board.
It literally can't. Yeah. It sucks, but it is what it is. Yeah. It is what it is.
Good.
Great. Well, I think that's it then, right?
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. It's an interesting unit. I can't wait to see yours when it's built. Shame about you're not going to do the pistons now.
I know. We'll see.
That'd be like a year-long project.
It would. Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing it on the tabletop and watching it delete all of my squishy elves.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait. No, well, thank you so much again for all the comments and look forward to the next video, right?
Yeah, we're back soon with another unit review. Thank you.
Thank you.